Hello and welcome. I'm conductor Raffaele Ponti, and this is Behind the Notes. Today, my very special guest is harmonicist Robert Bonfiglio. Robert, welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Great to see you.
Yeah, same.
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Where are you right now? Are you in New York?
I'm in New York City. Yeah.
You're in New York City right now. Okay, I didn't know if you were traveling or not. Listen, you're one of the best harmonica players living today, traveling the world, concertizing with orchestras from Vienna to the Boston Symphony. It's an incredible career, so let's get right to it. I would like to know from the very beginning, did you come from a musical family, or was there one event or one musician or person that inspired you to get into music, and why the harmonica?
Well, I started out, like most kids, I got a harmonica in my Christmas stocking and then started playing Oh, Susanna. And while I was in high school, some kids, started a blues band and they knew I played harmonica. So I started playing blues on the harmonica, played these little harmonicas. People like Sonny Boy Williamson, Junior Wells, James Cotton, Paul Butterfield. We played that kind of the nasty stuff. And then I decided in my backyard in Iowa that I really wanted to be serious about the instrument. So I came to New York City and I studied at Mannes College of Music and Manhattan School of Music, but I studied composition because I didn't have a harmonica major. Among my composition teachers were people like Aaron Copland. So, wow, yeah. Actually pinned him down once. I said, you know, the beef commercial. Remember that bump there, and I said, I said, that's a harmonica and a fiddle right on the front porch. And he said, yeah. Right. So there you go.
It's an amazing instrument because, it has some element of Americana to it, I believe, because, at some point everybody had a harmonica and it seemed to be really part of the folk culture, but it's not really how it started. Is that true?
Well, I think it started in Germany, and that's people correct. Were playing papa music, but it wasn't because it was portable for pioneer society. You could take it with you. So it is as American as it gets. I mean, right. Abraham Lincoln played the harmonica. He used to while away his hours in the White House playing
and he still became president?
And he still became president. We've had several, it's part of American history. When you think of cowboys, campfires, that lonesome freight train, somebody in prison,
Exactly.
And now, anyway, it's an instrument that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Yeah,
absolutely. The one you just demonstrated now, like the Homer little ones. How many notes and how many reeds are on that particular instrument?
I don't know. It's 3 octaves.
3 octaves.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Super. So now studying with Aaron Copland, I mean, what an influence. Did you ever get a chance to play for him? And did he explore the harmonica as an orchestral instrument ever?
I studied with him. I won the first MIO scholarship to study with him at Aspen. And we did a harmonica concerto with the students. I think I played the Villa Lobos out. It's just one of the student concerts. So I think he was aware of it. By this point, he had really he wasn't composing so much as conducting. So that was it. So that was over. But I have talked to other composers about writing for it, sure.
Terrific. Now, when you start to research how many harmonica concertos are really being written, it's an amazing library. I mean, it seems to range anywhere from like 1940s, and then it got popular 50s, 60s, and 70s. People were really writing for this instrument. How did that develop?
Yes, I mean, it was Larry Adler and John Sebastian were the pioneers of the harmonica. So the Villa Lobos harmonica concerto that I played I recorded it on RCA. I have played that about 440 times throughout the whole world. So that's one of the major pieces, but there are also pieces by Cherpnin, Arthur Benjamin, Mio, Henry Cowell. I did the world premiere of that concerto, and Vaughan Williams, Malcolm Arnold. So major composers have written for it, mostly in the 40s and 50s.
Right. Robert Russell Bennett, even. I mean, just
Yes.
great stuff. I mean, Norman Della Gioia, just great composers.
Yes.
Really great composers. Now, do you think it's when players became more advanced and were able to do more technical things? Because right now you play the chromatic harmonica, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
Could you show us what that looks like in comparison to the first one you played?
All right. So the chromatic harmonica is a larger instrument. It has 4 octaves. From the C below middle C to the higher.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's one other harmonica, it's the diatonic harmonica.
This is the little ones are diatonic.
That's what we call the diatonic.
They play only in one key. The chromatic harmonica plays in all keys. Basically, it without the button in on the end, it plays in the key of C. But if you push the button in, it goes up the half step, which gives you every key. You can play in any key.
Wow. So that's real technique just with that button alone.
Yeah.
You really have to know where the whole steps and half steps are, no matter where you are, like a pianist.
It's just the same as every other musical instrument. I'm sorry, when it comes to difficulty, they all end up being, the same. The nice thing about the harmonica is you get a sound and it's in tune right off the bat. But then there's where the difficulty starts.
Right. And the other nice thing about the harmonica is when you travel the world, it's easy to get on an airplane.
Yeah, right. You don't have to buy a seat for your cello.
Now let's talk a little bit about the care and the maintenance of those instruments, because as we've discussed before, you and I, humidity can affect the reed somehow, and you have a technique that you use to prepare your harps.
Well, I just keep them warm. I put them in a heating pad, and that keeps condensation from happening. But the reeds stay pretty much in tune. They're brass reeds. Actually, there's that little round thing they used to use for a pitch pipe, a tuning pipe. That's harmonica reeds in there. What they don't know is that if the player plays them differently, the pitch can change. You could have a on the same note.
Oh, okay. So is it possible to adjust the pitch while you're playing the harmonica?
A little, but not much. It's pretty much nailed. If I'm tuned to, let's say 442, 443, a little bit high, then I can play with a lot of body and it comes out in tune.
Okay.
So I can bring it down.
What are they normally tuned at? They're not at 440.
I tune them a little high so that I can I have a little bit, so I can crank, so I can play with full body.
And how do you tune a harmonica?
You just take the reeds, you file them. The reed is here. If you file on the end, it gets lighter, goes up in pitch. If you file near the base, it gets heavier in proportion, and it goes down in pitch. They mostly go down in pitch. Just like strings, metal fatigue happens, and as it happens, the pitch starts to go down.
So the more you file, you're taking away from the reed. Do they ever have to be replaced?
Yes, reeds break. They break just like strings break on a violin. From metal fatigue, they're vibrating. Basically 220 times a second. For the A440, you get the sine wave.
Like a piano now, for example, in the tuning of a piano. I mean, once it's set, that's
exactly what it's like on a harmonica.
It's the same thing.
It's a set. Yeah.
Okay.
You can change the pitch a little bit by just change it, but you can't really make them get sharper so much as you can make them get a little flatter.
Which is always interesting to me, because when orchestras are playing by themselves, or a string quartet's playing by itself, for example, they can move the pitch, bend, play the seventh a little higher, leading to the tonic again, and all these things. But when we play with like a piano concerto or a harmonica concerto, the orchestra has to readjust what they're hearing and where they're playing it.
Where they're playing it. And, I mean, I hear it all the time when I hear people play violin sonata with a piano. I'm sorry, violins play a specific way in tune, and the piano can't adjust. It just can't. So, that's, as you said, the seventh will be a little sharp as a leading tone,
Right.
But the nice thing about the piano is it's got a fat sound.
Exactly.
And the reason it has is because all those strings are giving overtone at the same time that you're playing the one pitch. So there's a big pitch. And the same thing is true with an orchestra. Everybody has a different idea where A is. So if they're all playing in A, it's like this big fat sound with different vibratos and stuff. You get a big sound, and it's easy to play in tune with. What's hard to play in tune with is machines, because that is a cross section of the sound. So you don't get the fat sound. You only get a sampling at that one little place. And if you aren't dead in tune with it, it sounds out of tune because it's not alive. And that's the neat thing about what we've missed from being sequestered all this time, is that live music is so much more exciting than digital music. Because,
exactly right. Exactly right. And we're going to return to that soon, because I hear from our patrons that they just can't wait to get away from the television or the computer and sit in a concert hall again and hear the great
listen to people play. And I can only say to your patrons, when I'm playing, when we're making music, and it's been a pleasure making music with you. I mean, you're just one of the best conductors to, it's so easy. But
could you wait? I missed that. I missed that. Could you say that again, please? I missed that part.
You missed the part where I said you're one of the best conductors to work with.
All right, the check's in the mail. Take it easy.
Checks in the mail. Now, here's the deal, though. You got to admit, when it's live and when there's people there, you and I go into another gear.
Exactly. And the same thing for the orchestra.
The orchestra goes into another gear. It's like, oh, that was rehearsal. We're now playing,
Right.
I mean, it's kind of the same as we went to batting practice, in baseball, but now this is a game,
And they're cheering.
Well, the batting practice is batting practice. You're not really swinging hard here. You're not doing anything. You're just kind of going through the motions. And now all of a sudden, and so to have been away from people for this time, oh man.
Well, that's something. The thing is that I always tell our patrons, because they don't really realize how much they're really a part of the performance. If an audience is dull and uninterested, then it's just, we feel that. It's like playing tennis with a bad tennis player. The energy is just not coming back. Therefore, it affects your game a little bit. But when your audience is on the edge of their seats and they're part of that performance, we feel the electricity. And that's what you just said. And it just compounds the energy and the synergy of any musical experience.
You and I played the Villa Lobos concerto, and I can't.
A couple of times.
I'm going to play a little bit of that for you. How's that sound?
Fantastic. Thank you.
Let me just try that.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Bravo. Bravo.
So, yeah,
Really beautiful.
I missed the whole thing of playing, you know, in
That's
front of
fabulous.
people. It just,
You know, Robert, your playing is so lyrical and so heartfelt, and it's an extension of your body. And the thing is, but the harmonica is not really considered. Like when you try to sell this to, your board or your committees and say, listen, I'd like to bring in a harmonica player. They look at you like, what?
what?
Because they don't really think the harmonica is an orchestral instrument. It's almost like the same thing with, unfortunately, with the accordion or the saxophone, because we don't normally see them in the orchestra, but yet the results and the music making is at very high levels on all three of these instruments right now. What do you think it is, the stigma that holds back the concept? How come we're not going to do a harmonica concerto?
Oh, who knows? I mean, it's a double-edged sword. You know, I was in front of a huge committee in some orchestra. I remember, that was the funders for the orchestra and everything. And they asked me that same question. And I said, okay, everybody who in their lifetime has played the harmonica, raise your hand. And everybody goes like this. And they've all had one in their mouth, right? I said, okay, now everybody that's played the cello, raise your hand. There was like one person put it. I said, so the cello is really an odd instrument, isn't it? But the harmonica is an instrument that you all can associate with. I mean, the point is I think Ellington, I think he was the guy that said, there's two kinds of music, good music and bad music. And, I'm sorry, that's the same with instruments and players and all. I mean, there are people that can play. And exactly. You get a certain kind of musician, man, I don't care what the heck they're on. They're going to sound good.
What drew you to the harmonica? Was it the color? Does that match your personality or your voice?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think people choose instruments. I think instruments choose people.
Amen.
I mean, what happens is that you play this thing and this instrument says, I own you. You are going to sit behind me for 2 to 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 hours every single day and practice and do what you do. And you're going to love it, and it's just the way it is. It becomes part of your body. It becomes part of your life. I really still love to practice every day.
That's amazing.
Why wouldn't you love to practice every day? You're right. Doing exactly what you want to do.
What you love. That's the thing, as professional musicians, who've been in the business a long time and are sitting, in an orchestra somewhere, or maybe in the back of a section sometimes, they can forget why they picked that instrument. As in 5th grade, and when they first opened that case and smelled that instrument for the first time, and the joy of putting it together, and the joy of making that sound, we tend to lose that love. It's important to continue to remember why I'm playing and who I am. But the problem is the business can bounce you around so much and beat you up so much.
Well, I mean, it was, I think, Ray Charles. He said, the concert's free. What you guys are paying for is all of the stuff I have to put up with to get up here on the stage. And it's true. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. The business end of stuff is not fun. The business end of almost everything is not fun. The playing end of it is fun. That's the point. They call it playing music. They don't call it working music. I can tell you right now, when this becomes work for me, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to do it anymore, because my whole point is I want to be like a kid. I want to be up there playing. I want to be able to just let loose, be in front of a whole bunch of people and just do it.
That's what artists do.
Whatever comes out, that comes out. That's that time. This is another time. But the whole point is just how much fun it is to do it. I mean,
you can certainly feel through the screen, you can feel and hear your passion for the art and for music making in general. How important is music in society?
well,
Because, you know, in school systems, that's the first thing to be cut.
I used to have this life without music would be a mistake.
That's right.
That's the way. I mean, we are and it's what separates us from the other animals. I mean, we make music. What's the reason for music? There is no reason. There's no reason for it. You know, I mean, is it for the dance? You know, is there some kind of that's why you make the music, for the dance or whatever? Probably, you know, but we've been doing this for the entire time that we've been on the earth. You know,
Absolutely.
so that's what we do. You know, at the end, I mean, let's say you go to Napoleon's army and you say, well, who were the major rich people that funded Napoleon, and what kind of guns did they use in Napoleon's army and stuff? That somebody could find that stuff out, right?
Right.
But most people don't. That's not what's there. What's there is the Eroica by Beethoven, the Beethoven Symphony. That's what the art is what is left after all of the money is spent.
Exactly.
You know, basically, money is just to allow people to make art. That's what it's for.
Absolutely.
So
I agree with that.
You know, otherwise there isn't any point.
I agree.
I mean, just it's also the music does for you. You know, it's for your soul. It's for the inner part. You know, it makes you have feelings that other things don't. There aren't any words. The feelings belong to you. Right. It's your response to the music. I can only get you into that place where I am trying to control your emotions, but they're your emotions. And so your listening experience is not mine. It's yours. You know, and my job is to get you to that place. That's both our jobs.
Right, exactly.
That's it.
You know, we are fortunate to have a very supporting community, audience, and patrons in Paducah, and there's been study after study after study now how it affects the brain and the mind of children, and how the brain just develops differently, and they're generally the smarter kids. They score better. But it's also true for not 8-year-olds only, but 88-year-olds, that those people sitting in that audience need to realize that it's such a healthy thing for them to do. I also read recently that an audience comes together from the listening aspect. Now, whatever they perceive of the piece, I'm not talking about do you like it or do you not like it, but if a piece that has a really driving beat, for example, with great rhythm, they say that their heart rates will kind of line up with that. And you're talking about thousands of people sitting next to each other, not understanding why they're feeling a certain way, because it's being inspired by the music. It's like if it was a slow piece of music, but very cantabile and adagio, the breathing will slow down and their heart rate will calm down too, all at the same time. It's an amazing thing. And that's beyond art. That's science and that's health. You agree with that?
I mean, that's the point, isn't it? Music is what makes you feel inside. It's not the only art that does that, but arts do that. And a society without any art is in trouble. It really is. It's in trouble.
I agree.
So for the folks in Paducah, yeah, let me do this here. I know this is something I can do. Look at this. To that screen share.
That's wonderful. And you just made a lot of people very happy in Paducah.
Well, the first time I played with you guys down there, I'm playing, and we were doing, again, a supporters dinner or something. And I said, oh, I can play that. And I start playing it. People stood up and put their hand over their heart and stuff, going like, whoa.
This is serious business.
It's not only that though. You see what just happened? The harmonica. Right away we've pigeonholed. That's that guy who's sitting on his horse playing to his cows. I'm out there on the prairie with him, and he's by himself in the middle of nowhere. It's how can you get those kinds of emotions? If I tell you about them, they're not the same thing as when I'm just doing a simple song, but it's not simplistic. It's simple, and it goes to,
goes right to the heart.
And then there's where we are. You
That's
say
it.
somebody that's simple but not simplistic, Mozart. I go to Mozart. I said, yeah, not one note too many, not one note too few. I mean, it's like, and you go, nobody could write this. Nobody. How does this happen?
Right.
And then the symphony can bring it.
That's it.
That's
well
it.
said. Listen, man, I know you're a big component of music education, and also you have a wonderful music festival. Would you just tell us a little bit? And it's in a beautiful part of the world.
Yes.
Could you please describe the Grand Canyon Festival?
This is a Grand Canyon Music Festival. I think we're now in our 38th season. My wife and I, Claire Hoffman, who's the artistic director, started the festival.
And by the way, she's a fabulous flautist.
Yes, plays I like to say flute because I don't want to give them any, Anyway, it's every year in September out at the Grand Canyon at the Shrine of the Ages on the south rim of the Grand Canyon. And we have some of the finest musicians in the world the ones that solo with orchestras, come out and make chamber music. But this last year, we did it all online. So if you want to you can hear, it turned out fantastic. If you Google the Grand Canyon Music Festival and you Google September 5th, you will see a YouTube video that we put up of me playing the Hovhannes Harmonica Concerto. And we used photos of the night sky above the Grand Canyon. So what you're looking at is the Milky Way above the Grand Canyon at the same time. And you're going, oh my, as I used to say when we play out there, you see this, and then there's no ambient light. So you can touch the Milky Way. And then you can see the Andromeda Nebula, which is, another 400, 800 billion stars. And we had an astrophysicist on the board, and I leaned over to him and I said, geez, I guess it really doesn't make much difference how I play on Friday night, does it? Because you feel really small,
That's amazing. Though. Not even Spielberg could get that kind of backdrop.
Oh, no, it's just, on the other hand, it is fantastic to come hear a concert, see the canyon, and know why we make music. And we make great music at the Grand Canyon Music Festival. You can Google it, grandcanyonmusicfest.org. You can go online and see our concerts.
That's fabulous, Robert. Continued success with that program. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Listen, I just want to ask you a question. If a musician were to, God forbid, drop a note at the Grand Canyon, how far would it fall?
A note? Yeah, you're laughing, but here's the deal. Somebody says, it must be a great echo. I said, there's no echo. Said, what? Yeah. If it's 12 miles across, if you drop a note, it falls about 400 feet. Even a paper airplane falls about 400 feet down. It looks like it didn't even go anywhere. The thing is 283 million acres.
Wow.
It's 5 miles down.
That's
So, I mean,
amazing.
it's 5,000. I mean, it's a mile down. It's 5,000 feet the bottom and 8,000 at the top. And so basically, the thing is huge. 12 miles across.
That might be the greatest concert hall ever built.
Yeah, right. Actually, only place you get any echoes is if you go into a side canyon. Then you go into a side canyon from the side canyon. Then you go into another little side canyon. Then you go into another little side canyon, and that one has an echo because it's small enough where you can actually. And then you actually could play canonic sonatas with yourself.
And by, and by the time you make all those turns, you're just outside of Newark.
You right. You make all those turns. You're outside of exhausted, is what it is. And you better have some water.
Listen, Robert, you're wonderful. Hey. You're very inspiring. Your enthusiasm just comes through even on the screen.
Hey,
and I anticipate that the next time I'm in Paducah with the Paducah Symphony Orchestra, I'm going to drive around with my windows open, and I expect to hear everyone on their front porch playing a harmonica.
Hey, playing a harmonica. Hey, it was a pleasure playing with you there, and I can't wait to repeat. I'd love to, come back, see, because again, as I said, you're wonderful to work with, and it was a great orchestra.
It is a great orchestra.
Yeah.
Great orchestra. I appreciate you very much, Robert. Continued success, and thank you for taking the time.
Thanks.
Ciao, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Ciao.